I'm joined this morning by members of my command staff, members of the Major Crimes Unit, members of the Arson Task Force, members of the Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, who work in conjunction with our Arson Task Force, members of the Monroe County District Attorney's Office. And as we go through the statement, I'll get to some individual names. This is regarding a cold case murder arrest from 17 Yates Street that actually occurred on February 28th of 2004. A Monroe County grand jury indictment was unsealed in Monroe County Court this morning, charging Timothy Kuhn, 63, with murder in the second degree and arson in the first degree for intentionally starting a house fire at 17 Yates Street on February 28th, 2004, that killed 8-year-old Savannah Streber. Kuhn was arraigned before Judge Stephen Miller on those charges this morning. He is currently being held without bail in the Monroe County Jail. In early December 2023, investigators presented evidence to a Monroe County grand jury that subsequently handed up a sealed indictment with the charges. A Monroe County judge issued an arrest warrant for Kuhn. He was ultimately found at his residence in Holmes County, Florida, and taken into custody by members of the Rochester office of the United States Marshal's Violent Felony Fugitive Task Force. Our resident marshal, Chuck Salina, was unable to be here this morning. On February 28th, 2004, shortly after midnight, residents on Yates Street reported hearing a loud noise, then noticed the house at 17 Yates Street was on fire. There were several children inside the home at the time, including 8-year-old Savannah, her 3-year-old sister Alex, the babysitter, and the babysitter's 11-year-old son. Savannah's mother, Lisa, was at work at the time. The babysitter's son, awakened by the fire, alerted his mother and ran to a neighbor's house for help. The babysitter rushed to wake Savannah and Alex. Once outside, the babysitter quickly realized Savannah was no longer with them. She attempted to re-enter the burning house, but the fire was already too intense. When firefighters extinguished the fire, they recovered Savannah's body inside of her mother's bedroom. It is believed she likely ran into the room looking for her mom. The investigation revealed the fire had started on the back porch and was intentionally set. Investigators worked tirelessly on this case from the onset. Timothy Kuhn became a person of interest very early on because of his volatile relationship with Savannah's mom, Lisa. At the time of the murder, Lisa had a no-contact order of protection against Kuhn from a recent assault. Despite exhaustive investigative efforts at the time, the case ultimately went cold, but was never forgotten. All the while, the family fought to keep this case in the public eye in hopes of developing enough information to eventually bring the person responsible to justice. In 2018, Major Crimes and Homicide Sergeant David Joseph was assigned to review Savannah's case. Sergeant Joseph combed through all the evidence and recontacted those involved, including Savannah's mom, Lisa, and her sisters, Kelly and Alex. Sergeant Joseph also sought help from the Monroe County District Attorney's Office, with ADA attorneys Sarah Von Stridunk and Pat Gallagher joining the effort. Also joining the investigation were our federal partners from the ATF, who regularly work with the Arson Task Force, and of course members of the Rochester Fire Department who work the Arson Task Force with us. Over the last 5 years, Sergeant Joseph, ATF investigators, and the Arson Task Force traveled to several different states as part of this investigation. It is because of their tireless work that we are able to be here today with Savannah's family to announce this arrest. I want to thank all the investigators and our partners who spent the last 2 decades working on this case, especially Sergeant Joseph, Assistant DAs Von Striduk and Gallagher, and our ATF partners. And I want to thank and commend Savannah's family, Lisa, her dad David, and her sisters Kelly and Alex, for never letting anyone forget about Savannah. We know this arrest will not bring her back, but we hope that it will bring you some sense of solace and that the person responsible will finally face a court of law. So I'm going to introduce Savannah's sister Kelly, who's going to say a few words on behalf of the family. Then I will come back with Sergeant Joseph and take a few questions.
We're just happy an arrest has finally been made. After 20 years, it's been far too long. We never gave up. We never stopped fighting, and we're not done yet. Savannah, you have not been forgotten. Let's get this conviction. That's all I'd like to say at this time.
I'd like to introduce Sergeant David Joseph from the Major Crimes Unit, and he'll field a few questions.
Yep, my name is David Joseph. I'm a sergeant with the Major Crimes Unit with RPD, and I could take any questions that you might have at this time.
What was it that kind of clinched the investigation now and was able to bring you to this point today?
It was a combination of different things over the past years, definitely more recently than when this all occurred. We obtained more information, reached out to different people. More people had maybe a little bit more statements that they wanted to provide, more so than maybe earlier. And it was just a opportunity to reach out. It gets challenging after so many years to find what you need to go forward with a case. It's difficult enough when things happen more recently, but when it's a cold case like this and you get more information, you have to kind of reach out to others and kind of put the puzzle together. So there wasn't any huge piece that came forward, but it was just some more information that we got and that we were able to work with it.
Was Kuhn the sole person of interest in this case? Were there others? And what sort of stood out from him? You mentioned the relationship with your mother and no contact order, but as the years unfolded, was there anybody else that stood out in this investigation?
No, there was no one else that really was a person of interest other than Tim Kuhn. He had been the person of interest pretty much since the onset, and there wasn't enough 20 years ago to go forward with a case to prosecute, but more recently there has been. So that's the direction we went.
Pretty unusual to have an almost 20-year-old case solved or at least brought to this point for an arrest.
It is. It's unusual. It's difficult. I can't thank enough the Streber family. I mean, today's about Savannah. I can't say enough about Kelly, who, although very frustrated, we've talked, we've met many times over the last 5 years. Extremely understanding, patient, kind, gracious, never upset, never. I know she was inside, but never towards law enforcement. And I can't say enough about her. She's the ultimate big sister. I mean, she's kept Savannah's spirit alive, never gave up. I would get tied up with other cases, and Kelly would reach out, probably more than I reached out to her, but we would always contact, get back to each other and talk about the case and maybe what steps we had to go forward. And I can't say enough about Lisa and Alex and David, and just an incredible family for dealing with the loss those years ago, and then being so patient. And like I said, it was motivating to just deal with a family like that over these years, to try to find justice for them and for Savannah.
Right. People were around. I mean, the community remembers this. It was so significant. When you lose a child in this community like that. I know that the family, has already spoken, but I don't know if there's anything you want to add to, like, when the community was out there kind of praying for you and caring for you.
Family made their statement, so we're going to provide the family. I think that we're good with questions.
Thank you.
guys very much.
Thank you, everyone.